Hey everybody, what's up? Let's party. Yeah, let's go. Round of applause. Let's get some energy going. My name is Rod, one of the co-founders of Bitcoin Park, the craziest thing I've done in my life, and I'm going to tell you not to do it today. But show of hands real quick, who's been to Bitcoin Park? All right, a lot of you guys. Thank you. Okay. So this presentation, honestly, I'm going to probably get through it in like 10 minutes, and then we'll do the rest of the presentation, stump the Bitcoiner, ask me any all questions. They could be personal, they could be whatever you want. And we'll have a good time. I'm going to be here tonight as well, so if you want to grab a beer, coffee, drink, whatever, love to jam with you as well. I'm super passionate about community spaces, Bitcoin, and I've put my time, capital, and reputation pretty much on this. So let's get started. So first and foremost, as I go to the clicker here, guy, boom, boom. Let's do this, guy. Don't do this unless you absolutely love Bitcoin. You got to really love it. Are there any meetup organizers here as well, by the way? Okay. Y'all are a crazy bunch as well. Why the fuck do we do a Bitcoin meetup? It's because we love Bitcoin. I mean, straight up. I love talking about Bitcoin. I love interacting with Bitcoiners. I have some of the deepest relationships now with Bitcoiners. So absolutely love Bitcoin. And then also your local community. My kids are now born in Nashville, so they're 7th generation Nashvillians. So I'm deep into Nashville. If Odell was here, he would just call me out immediately and say, "You're not a local Nashvillian," which is correct. I've only been there for a little over 10 years, but my wife was one of those unicorns. But I love Nashville. It's a very long Nashville, and I want to give back to the community in that respect. Also, here's a big thing. So the talk is around a third space, and what is a third space? Your first space is your home. I hope everyone has their own home. And their second space is like your space of work. Before COVID, most people would go to a place to go work and jam at an office if you work for somebody. But the third space is this concept where you meet for your community of like-minded folks, and oftentimes it's like a place of social gathering, if you will. And that's why I'm really bullish on these Bitcoin third spaces, because Bitcoiners love to get together. I mean, I could span the room, and I've already talked to a number of you folks that have traveled from all over the country, or all over this country as well as the world, just to be here to talk about Bitcoin. We are all freaking crazy. So we're all crazy. And I'll get to the crazy part in a second. But what I've found to be successful, and I've seen a few others, like down in Pleb Lab with Carr, Parker at Commons, being a proven meetup organizer where you're consistent and able to organize your own meetup, you're able to find a space, you're able to talk to a business owner to like rent you the space or even give you the space, I think is massively, massively important. This is a little bit of a bar because everyone and their mom, it seems like, after they hit some specific numbers, they want to be like, well, should I do a third space? Should I do a Bitcoin Park? If you're hosting 100 folks or plus on a consistent basis, I think that you can toggle and say possibly. And you gotta love people. You will meet some of the craziest people in the world in the best way possible if you have your own third space or your own Bitcoin Park or meetup location. And you gotta love people of all sorts of types, from the politicians all the way down to the crazy, crazy pleb that's asking you the most random question. And then this one's often overlooked. You do have to commit time. Like your time is obviously our most scarce asset. And in order to make it work, especially early on, you got to commit a lot of time and effort into this. You have to be crazy. Matt and I are absolutely crazy, and now Harry's with us. And it's still crazy to this day. We're a little 13 months in now. I put commit time twice because you'll think you're like, oh, I can commit like 10 hours to this or 20 hours to this. It's like 100 hours plus of your time. And then I also put in there, have experience operating a small business, because it truly does become a small business. If you're committing your capital towards a third space, whether that's through rent or even buying a location, you need to operate it and make sure you're at least cash flow break even. And if you're thinking about like, oh, this is going to be the next $1 million idea, I don't think you're going to be in it for the right reasons. But if you want to have like a good basis, I think this will be a great opportunity for y'all, especially meetup organizers. Okay, so after that riveting disclaimer of all the attributes in terms of what makes a quality Bitcoin third space operator, I think you guys are all ready just to jump in and start your own Bitcoin park and so on. This is literally the only thing that matters, straight up. It is your local community. Sean Yeager's here. We got Rockstar Dev. We got a number of folks, Ben here as well. This doesn't happen. We could call it like Lemonade Park or whatever without the people that come and frequent the park and spend their time with us. It makes it truly special. You can ask Carr if he's here about, and there's, Pleb Dev right over there, the Austin community. It is truly about the people. And you gotta have the people. That's why I mentioned on the previous slide the 100+ folks that are consistently coming. About 20 to 30% are gonna be this core group of people. And it doesn't even matter what you guys are talking about. If you're hosting a Bitcoin meetup, that 20, 30 are just showing up. So they're gonna figure out ways to support you. And then some magic really, really happens. So if you don't have this community element, do not start it. So if you're like, okay, I'm not crazy enough, I don't want to start one, but I want to help. How do you help your local Bitcoin third space? So you can frequent it, and spend sats there, or you can spend, if there's a membership fee or a desk fee or so on. You can contribute in other ways. Bitcoin Park would not be as successful without people like Mads, who just walked in, who volunteered her time to organize a number of our summits and our meetups as well. She spent her time, which is actually even more valuable, one can make the argument, than actually the cash. Ben spent his time with us, being there for our Lightning Summit most recently, taking out trash at 7 a.m. in the morning and cleaning up the bathroom areas, and then just helping, being like, I'm all hands, let me just help you guys out. And that's where I go back to the community element, which is so massively important. Everyone can contribute in their own way, some way, shape, or form. So don't think that you, like, let's say cash is tight, which I totally understand. There are other ways that you can support your local Bitcoin meetup or local community. I mentioned that before as well, volunteer. You can volunteer your time just to chip in. And then the other things is, promoting your local Bitcoin third space. Amongst, not so much to blast on your social medias, because everyone here has hundreds of thousands of followers. It's more so just talking about the space amongst your local community. So we've been very fortunate to host a number of folks at the park, and the word's getting out about Bitcoin Park locally, which is just truly awesome to see. And if you do, some magic can happen. We've hosted 3,000+ attendees. We've had 40+ free and open community meetups and events. We have over 1,450 community members. 100+ businesses have frequented the park, and obviously 0 shitcoins, and 4+ summits. But none of this would have been possible without the community. So I would just say, starting with your local community, even if you have one other person next to you that you enjoy going out, having a beer with, and you're like, are we crazy enough to do this? Do we have, we've done the meetups and so on, we're consistent about our meetups, we're not all over the place, and we want to do this, shoot me a note. I'll tell you not to do it for all the number of reasons, but then you should tell me to fuck off and just go do it, because you got to be crazy to do this. So I don't know how much time I just went through. I love Q&A, so I'm just going to open it up to this group to ask me any and all questions. So thank you, first of all. Yes, Sean. I probably would not do Bitcoin Park. And I'm being serious about this. I have 4 kids. I had 3 at the time, and we started Bitcoin Park. We signed all the things, and we're like ready to go. And I found out I was having my fourth, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? But to answer your question honestly, so me and Matt were like, oh, we're base Bitcoiners. We're just going to accept Bitcoin, and we obviously do. And this was, I think the price of Bitcoin was like 35K or 40K or something. And, you know, folks like Sean and others were, you know, paying their annual memberships up front, and it was great. Like, we're like in Bitcoin, we're like, we're doing it, we're doing it. The price goes down to 25,000, like within days. We're like, we're not doing it, we're not doing it. Get the cash, get the cash, get the cash. Because our bills were denominated in dollars, right? And so that's why I go back to the having experience being a small business operator, just knowing what your costs are on a recurring basis, being super disciplined about that aspect, and making sure, do we save in Bitcoin? Absolutely. Do we have savings right now? No, but we will get there. And it's also really cool that we push towards folks sending us Bitcoin, because everyone kind of like gets that muscle memory in place. So the answer to your question a long way, it would have been just be more stringent in going into cash. And that's not a fun answer, but, you know, learned a lot there. Yes, all the way in the back. So, well, the plan is we're going by the seat of our pants, that's for sure. We do own the space, which is cool, because we got to do what we want with the space. So it was funny, we were like doing a summit and a couple other things, and people were like, what about, this is recorded probably, so let me say, what if this happens? And we're like, well, we have the space. We can just do whatever we want. Like in terms of like how late we want to stay there, or how a number of different things. I don't recommend that though, because that's why I go back to that meetup organizer stat. It's if you're able to have a consistent meetup at a consistent venue where we outgrew our space at the Jackalope Brewery. This was in the heart of COVID. We had the Nashville Bitcoin meetup, and we grew it from 25 folks in August of 2021 quickly to like 200 plus people were coming to the meetup. And they were great. Jackalope was great. We just outgrew the space quickly, and we were looking for a new space. And then next thing you know, we're way over our skis. But I would start, there's a couple decision trees. Have you organized a meetup yet? Yes or no? No, organize a meetup. Yes, great. Are you consistent like 6 months in, and you're loving to do this every month or every week or whatever it is? And obviously there's decisions there as like social meetup, technical meetup, or a combo of both. If you're going all the way down the decision tree, then you end up on the third space question around owning, renting, owning or renting. I think that's just a personal decision. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yep. That gives me goosebumps and chills, because that's awesome. Thank you for that. Going back to the community aspect, and Sean and others can attest to this. We have a gentleman, Tom Maxwell. We have Paul Xfrog here. They just chipped in on the audio side on the day of. Have you been to Bitcoin Park yet? Okay, come and visit us for sure. We'd love to have you. And they just made it happen. And on the post-production, I'm super impressed with what Tom's done. And that's just within our community. He actually hit me up on Telegram, was like, hey, I think I can help. And I was like, way above my pay grade, come on in, let's do this. And he's absolutely crushed it. From a content perspective, that's another question around the third space. Like, Matt and I love the intimate conversations that you wouldn't find anywhere else on a podcast or so on. But we are also having a lot of these discussions that we knew the broader, I don't want to say world, but like, group of people would want to be interested in learning about. So we have this tagline, which is like locally produced, globally distributed. So we're going to continue to have content published, that's for sure. Thank you again.
Can you come up?
Man, yeah, we got to get that
Come on up here.
Kind of, I guess, a big open question here, but something I've noticed in Austin, like with the Pleb Lab, with the Commons, with the meetups, like we have so much, and it's so great. Like we can be so welcoming for people to come in. But the one thing that's still missing is a place to sleep, right? Because Austin's an expensive city, Nashville is kind of an expensive city. When Bitcoin hostel, how do we do it? And do you see that that's like a big need for people coming through the park?
So here was our hack. Our hack was this. That's a good question, because I'm going to give you you guys some good alpha, even though I give it to Parker and Carr. Amongst your community, there's probably Airbnb hosts, right? And why do we host the Nashville Bitcoin meetup and did now the open house on Wednesdays? Well, Wednesdays were the least trafficked day for Airbnb or hotel rentals. And so 2 things we did. One, we, amongst the community, I was like, hey, who's got Airbnbs out of curiosity? Great. If I had, Rockstar coming in town or any of these other guys, would you host them? Absolutely. Cool. What's your cleaning fee? It's like, $50. Great. Is it cool if they just pay the cleaning fee and, obviously they're respectful of your place? Twice on Sunday. Cool. So that's how we initially got so many people. It's like, hey, you want to come for a free place to stay, do Bitcoin stuff. They came to Nashville in droves. And it was topic focused as well with our meetups as well. I don't think from a revenue perspective as well as a time perspective, it makes sense for me personally. I think there's other assets in the community that we can just leverage. It's just now taking the effort to coordinate it all in an easy way. Like on our Discord, we have ways for people to connect and share houses and such. And then the other thing I did, I actually knocked on the door of the Moxie Hotel right before we took over the park. And I'm like, I know a little bit about the hotel and hospitality management area. And I'm like, so Wednesdays, out of curiosity, you have how many keys at this building? They're like, 113. Cool. On Wednesdays, on the second Wednesday of every month, and Tuesday now, are they typically booked up? No, that's one of our least booked evenings. I'm like, awesome. Can we get a discount link and can we help you fill it up? And they're like, absolutely. So next week, we are very proud and fortunate to host the inaugural Global Bitcoin Summit with the Human Rights Foundation. And just in that week, I think we booked up like 95 out of, Arsh will tell you because they did all the bookings, 95 or maybe 100 out of the 113 room listings. And now the Moxie's sending me like care packages, thanking me for like being a valuable customer and all this other stuff. So it's really cool in that regard. Bitcoin Hostel as a separate side business, maybe with a third space, could be cool. But you don't want to add so much to the actual experience. And like I mentioned, the community aspect. At the end of the day, for us, we're going to have 200 members. It is all about the membership experience. When Sean comes in, like every day, is he like whistling to the park? And once he stops whistling, we got to like change gears because we need to have that experience be like A+ always. Yes, with the bisque shirt. Oh, not the bisque shirt.
Hey, Rod.
Hey, Jesse.
As a key part of your scaling experience to actually make this jump to a physical location, what can you tell us about running a successful meetup, and what are the key elements to get to that scale that you got to with 200 attendees?
Totally. Great question. So first, you need a partner. I was very fortunate. Mills started the Bitcoin meetup here in Nashville. And we realized, like, if it was just me and her, just talking about Bitcoin, that's okay too. And we started the first one. Next thing we had 25 folks with no expectations. And then the most important thing is be consistent. Like, go and script out all of your, first, be consistent. Are you going to do it weekly, monthly, and then commit? Commit at least for the next 6 months. How many people here have kids? Awesome, a lot of people. Okay. For all you guys that don't have kids, you're probably a little bit more loose with your time. But for those folks that have kids, like I actually just flew in about an hour ago because my son's first soccer practice was this morning. And my kid's birthday was last night. I need a schedule. So thank you, Tidwell, for putting me at 4 o'clock. This was perfect. But other people, you want to be respectful of their time, and that's the most important thing. And then also consistent in terms of the type of meetup when they're coming there. So early on, we went from 25 to 100, then it was like 200 people, but that 200 rotated quite a bit. There was a lot of crypto people, blockchain people, and you'll undoubtedly get that. How did we make it such that it's been Bitcoin focused with Bitcoin people for, I don't know, pretty much every last like 10 months? We had 5 general guidelines that we stuck to. 1, no side conversations while presentations are going on. 2 was pick up after yourself. 3 was don't park in the church parking lot. 4 was no photos. We have a no photo and social media policy. And then 5 was this is a Bitcoin-focused meetup. What does that mean? We talk about Bitcoin, the capital B, the monetary network, as well as Bitcoin, the lowercase b, the reserve asset. What we don't talk about here, which you could maybe add another meetup, is around crypto, shitcoins, altcoins, the gold versus the dollar or whatever. More power to you. But for the next hour and a half, we're committed to making this the best Bitcoin experience you'll have possible. So consistency, having people that you enjoy hanging with, and then you'll enjoy as well. Have really low expectations of what it is. Like even if it was like 3 people, A+, and do it again, and do it again, and do it again. Because you'll have fun doing it. And that's my last point there is it's got to be fun. If it becomes a job where you're like, I feel the responsibility, I got to do this, don't even do it. Hope that answers your question.
Nice. I really liked it. Thank you. Most of the meetups result into opportunities being looked into the Bitcoin ecospace. You said you have 1,450 members. And how do you provide any jobs, opportunities to such people because the ecospace isn't growing? There's not that much acceleration out there in terms of monetary benefits. What's your advice to that?
Let's go. Okay, we have 1,450 plus on our meetup page, so I call them the community members, and which I hope Bitcoin. Here's the shill: bitcoinpark.com/meetup. There's so many opportunities just being in this space. I mean, Sean's now working at Amboss. One of the coolest things that I'm super proud of is we had so many of you may not be familiar with like Nashville, but we have 2 universities, like spitting distance to the park. One is Belmont University and the other is Vanderbilt University. The largest blockchain club is the Vanderbilt Blockchain Club. Fact check me on that. That's what they tell me, so I don't know. But I think it is. And they're great guys and girls. And they come and work at the park and study at the park. And one of those kids, Will Owens, who I think is here, by the way, applied to be a Summer of Bitcoin internship. I think how many applications were there, like thousands, and he was one of the 15. He didn't know shit about Bitcoin 6 months before, and now he's working, I think, with Dan Gould on some implementation of some CoinJoin stuff. So that's super interesting. The other aspect is I mentioned 100 plus companies have visited the park. I actually put all these logos together because I was curious. Almost all of them are hiring or looking to hire at some point, and just being able to network in a third space or in real life space goes such a long way to be able to touch and have a conversation with folks. So I think there's going to be even more opportunities to get in the Bitcoin space if you're at a Austin, or what do you call it, a Pleb Lab, as well as a Commons, PubKey, Bitcoin Reading Center, Bob's Space, if Bob's over here somewhere. There you go, those guys on Thailand, Satoshi's Place on the UK. It's like popping up, BTC Grove, Bitcoin Grove down in Miami. It's pretty freaking cool. So hopefully that answered your question.
I'm curious to hear a bit about the difficulties of bringing Bitcoin out into the community rather than bringing the community into Bitcoin, because it seems like in a lot of North American, otherwise very thriving Bitcoin communities, that's something that's missing, right? Nashville has like maximum one place that accepts Bitcoin. What's missing? What do you need? Like, how do we get there?
So that's an excellent question. And often I struggle. It's like, what's my incentive to go to my local merchant? You know, for me, of course, I want to use Bitcoin in a circular economy, a circular manner, for sure. Now being a small business owner, I now know all of the variables in my head that I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis just to keep the lights on. And then you get a knucklehead like me that's like, hey, why don't you take some internet money too and deal with that, right? So it's been really difficult, especially in the US, and I totally get it. So that's where we try to invite these small business owners to the park to learn about Bitcoin. So we're going to do Nosterville in November. Some of you may know this, but we're working with that hotel that I mentioned before that we did. They're actually have their PR team, and they're going to maybe, hopefully this works out, they're going to block off the entire street behind us, and we're going to do a Nosterville open air market. It's similar to the other thing we're doing, but basically we had to create and curate all the merchants. But they're going to have an NPub. They're going to have, accept Bitcoin because you can just zap their NPub and so on. So I think it's not so much going outbound and doing hand to hand and trying to convince folks, because that just, you're not going to have fun, and you're not going to have the stamina to be able to win unless you own a company that you have the economic incentive. So I think just being a resource in your local community that provides that education and resources, and then folks like Rockstar who are in town that can show you a point of sale system or IBEX or from across the board. I think we get sometimes hung up on we're not doing enough outbound trying to convince people, and it's all, in my experience at least, it's just more of a timing issue around people and where they are in their own cycle of like figuring out why they should be accepting Bitcoin.
Any more questions, please come up to the front.
When are you moving to Austin?
Oh, great question. When am I moving to Austin? Well, dang, I said this at the beginning. I was like, stump the Bitcoiner. He just stumped me. I was on a call with Parker yesterday. We were talking about ZapRight, which, by the way, the other cool thing about a meetup organizer, as well as if you have a third space, there's so much really cool Bitcoin tooling out there. Not to give ZapRight a shameless plug, but that has helped us operationalize a number of things, and it reduces our time so that to that point, it's like reduces my headache and another variable around that. I asked Parker, I'm like, hey, Parker, I invite you all the time to come do this, to come do that, and so on. You guys just give me this willy-nilly, like, open invite to come to Austin. Ben, I'd like a personal invite. Pick me up from the airport maybe, just to say, hey, stay on my couch. That'd be awesome. Who's that? All right, done. And my kids are coming too. Awesome. Thank you, everybody, so much. Cheers.